This is a lesson on the singer's vocal anatomy. One of the very first things you want to locate is your soft palate, which is located in the back of your throat. Your hard palate is the roof of your mouth, which is covered by skin, but there is a bone underneath that. And if you put your thumb inside your mouth and you feel the roof of your mouth and you go back to the back of your throat, you're going to feel where the bone ends, and the back of the throat is very squishy and soft. That is your soft palate. The funny thing about your soft palate is that when you raise your soft palate, you do it by like you're going to yawn or like you're going to take a bite of an apple, and you anticipate and you open up the back of your throat like the Capitol Dome. The place where it lifts up is really only about the size of a medium-sized marble. It's very small, about the size of your thumbnail, the end of your thumb. So experiment with putting your thumb in the back of your throat and taking a yawn breath and feeling that soft palate lift up. That is what raises up when you hear somebody say to raise your soft palate. The soft palate is also associated with the back of the throat, and when you sing, a lot of times they will say sing with an open throat. So all you do is you open up that space when you inhale and make air in the back of the throat, lifting the soft palate and opening up the back of the throat. Your vocal anatomy can basically be divided into three categories: the resonator, the vibrator, and the motor. So the resonator is you have control over the space inside your mouth, and your sinuses, the air in your sinuses vibrates, the air in the back of the throat vibrates. You open up the space and you can change your sound by how much space you have inside the mouth and in the back of the throat. That is the resonator because you resonate your sound there. The sound is actually generated at the larynx. The vocal folds sit inside the larynx, and the larynx, the nickname for the larynx is the voice box, and your trachea is the tube that goes down to your lungs, and the voice box, the larynx, sits inside the trachea, and your vocal folds sit right inside the larynx, and they vibrate when you speak or sing. And that's why we refer to this area as the vibrator, because this is where vibration takes place. When the vocal folds start pressing together and vibrating, that's what makes sound. Now, the third area is the motor, which is your breathing apparatus, and you can see it goes from the shoulder all the way down past the diaphragm into your ab muscles. So you can see the picture here of the ribs. The costal muscles are the muscles that are around your rib cage. You see the bottom of your sternum. The sternum is that bone that goes right down the center of your body in the front that separates the two sides of your rib cage. And you can see that the diaphragm it's like dome shaped. If you cupped your hand and turned it over, that's what the diaphragm looks like. So to recap, you have the resonator, the vibrator, and the motor. This is a great picture for you to understand what the diaphragm looks like. The basic purpose of the diaphragm is to separate your upper and lower organs. It holds your lower organs in place. Sitting on the top of the diaphragm is your heart and your lungs, which are your circulatory system, the heart, and your respiratory system, the lungs. And that's all connected. When you breathe in, the air goes inside your mouth, down through your bronchial tubes and your trachea. And as you breathe, you're getting life-giving air. And then for the heart, you have life-giving blood. So the funny thing is that those two major organs are in a cage. They are protected by your rib cage. And you can also see the sternum here at the center of the rib cage. In this slide, you can see the rectus abdominis, which is like your six-pack, your ab muscles, and you can see the solar plexus, which is located right at the base of your sternum. Here's another view of your diaphragm and how the lungs sit on top of the diaphragm. Your intercostal muscles are the muscles that are around your rib cage, and your rib cage does expand a little bit when you take in a breath. Here's another view of a few other things. Notice the dome shape. It's like a dome with a dip in the middle, the diaphragm, the lungs, the bronchial tubes. Notice how the air goes in your mouth and then it goes through your larynx and down through your trachea to your lungs. Notice the nasal cavity, your sinus. The pharynx is another name for the back of the throat. This is a view of your vocal folds as seen from above, as if you were looking down your throat into your larynx. The vocal folds sit right at the inside top of your larynx, which is the voice box. This is the end of the pictures. See if you can answer the questions on the following quiz. Have you ever noticed that on a man's throat, the larynx actually sticks out? They call it the Adam's apple. Well, the anatomical name for the voice box or the Adam's apple is the larynx. On women and children, the larynx is actually smaller because they sing treble pitches. And as a young man's voice goes through the change, his voice generally lowers and his larynx is larger. And that's why it sticks out and, of course, gained the nickname of the Adam's apple. What is the anatomical name for the vocal cords? The vocal folds. They are actually two tiny, thin muscles that vibrate back and forth. What are the bones around the lungs called? The rib cage. Your ribs are bones. What is the roof of the mouth called? The hard palate. What is the soft throat area right behind the hard palate called? The soft palate. What is the name of the rib muscles? Costal or intercostal muscles. What is the name of the muscle that holds your lower organs in place? The diaphragm. What is the tube that carries air to the lungs, also known as your windpipe? Your trachea. Now, I haven't covered this so far, but there's a little space between the vocal folds that opens and closes depending on if you are making sound or just breathing. That space is called the glottis. And when you do a harsh slapping of the vocal folds together, oh, you get a stroke of the glottis. Oh! What is the tube that carries food and drink to the stomach? The esophagus. Have you ever been eating something and you get all choked up and you say, oh, it went down the wrong pipe? That's because food or liquid has started to go down your trachea instead of your esophagus, causing you to gag and cough. What is the substance that makes up your nose, ears, and larynx? That is cartilage. What is your vocal sound made of? Air. What happens that makes your vocal folds make sound? Vibration. It is the air passing through the vocal folds, which are those two tiny little muscles, causing them to vibrate back and forth. What is the name of the bone in the middle of the rib cage? Your sternum. Thanks so much for hanging in there to the end of the quiz. Until next time, remember, only the brave sing.